Hello, hello, hello. It is Tuesday and it is our live market update. I hope you guys are enjoying the sunshine. It's gorgeous outside. Everyone says it's a little cold. Hold on, I'm cutting off my tag. Always doing 55,000 things at once, so I'm really excited about where the market's heading and what's going on. So let me bring Ben on, send request. A couple times, so wants to join. I already sent him. Oh, he's a coming. There he is. That was fast this time. Hello. Oh, hold on. Janelle just keeps saying that I gotta make sure my shirt is shown, otherwise it looks like I'm naked.
True.
She's always looking out for me. Always looking
Good job, Nellie.
Okay. So today I'm going to give a little market update. I know that it's almost end of April right now, but hold on my view. There we go. I wanted to go over March numbers too and give you guys an update on what's going on for what we're seeing, days on market, and those types of things. Wanted to talk a little bit about some information that I've been hearing from some builders on pre-approvals and even other listing agents on things. And then I'm going to talk about a seller class that we have coming up and let everyone go. Well, I got to let you talk, I guess.
Gee. Thanks.
Okay, let's start with gratitude. What are you grateful for today?
It's opportunity. You know, in this business, it's so ups and downs and ebb and flows that some days you may feel like your world is ending, and the next day it's amazing. So opportunity is the lifeblood of this business. So
Yes, I'm grateful for my relationships with everyone, parents, girls, work, everything. I take pride in the relationships I build with people, and it's really important to me. And I've spent a lot of time focusing on loving on my people. So that's an important one to me. And then obviously I'm grateful for the sunshine because that changes my whole entire vibe with everything. I know you always want me to say I'm grateful for you. I'm always grateful for you.
No, I didn't want you. I love sunshine.
Yeah.
I wish I could see it.
I love the sunshine. Yes. Okay, let's talk about the market. Let me move this. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, we'll just do my head like that. Let's talk about the market in Pierce County for the month of March year over year. So I'm just going to talk about residential listings. We are up almost 10% in new listings taken. So that's awesome. We're up 20% in pending sales. So I don't know if you guys knew, last year was the lowest sales, AKA worst real estate market since 1975, 74, 76, all around that time. Last transactions, like 75% of agents didn't even close one transaction.
Ooh.
So it's really, really rough, which also brings to the fact that you got to make sure who you're hiring to help sell your home, because you cannot just stick a sign in the yard, put it in the MLS, and pray that it's going to get sold. It doesn't work like that anymore. It really doesn't. It shouldn't ever really work like that. During COVID was a unique time that market was something that was interesting and not anything that we'll see again in that aspect. So making sure that you price, condition, the agent's giving you advice on, or their opinion on upgrades, what you should do. Buyers are still very picky and don't want to walk into a lot of work with the interest rates and what they're paying. So we need to make sure that we're advising top dollar. I do have a vendor that does some pre-listing updates, which is really cool. So, okay, so closed sales are up 3.5%. Days on market went from 33 and 24 to 40 in 2025. So, if you feel like you've been on the market for a month and a half and you're just like, oh my God, what is going on? Or even a couple weeks, know that. Time is happening. You don't need to go do a huge price drop 3 weeks on the market unless you weren't priced right first. So that could be a problem, but just hold on a little bit. I know that it's frustrating keeping your home show ready and all that kind of stuff. We have a joke in real estate that's like, just leave the underwear on the floor and you'll get a bunch of showings. So it's like it's a standing joke that's always how it happens, but don't do that. But that's just don't know that it's going to take some time for what that looks like. Year to date is 44 days on market. So it's just going to take some time, and communication is key. So if your agent isn't giving you a weekly market update or and giving you feedback, communication, what they're doing to sell the home, I would definitely consider if that's a good partnership for you and if you're getting your 10 plus experience. Okay, a few more things. Median sales price, hi Ryan, is up 3.3%. Average sales price is up 4%. So that's still exciting. The market is still continuing to increase, unbeknownst to what the news articles are saying that the market's going to crash and everything. Washington's in a unique position. So, making sure that you have micro and macro market statistics is helpful. Percentage of list price received went down 100.3%, which is still, it was 100.5, now it's 100.3. So they're still getting full price and a little bit more. And then inventory of homes went up 15%. Month supply of inventory is still at 1.5, which means it is still a seller's market. So in certain areas, it's a multiple offer seller's market.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I keep preaching, making sure that you have an agent that is providing the right information for you is huge. Absolutely key right now. It takes a special skill set to be a top listing agent. And this is the biggest wealth investment for most people. And so you need to make sure that you have someone that can talk that conversation and is going to protect your money.
Agreed.
So that was Pierce County. I'm not going to keep going over the numbers. A lot of people don't really care to hear about the numbers, but I think it's important that we have a little conversation about it. With that being said, our team is going to start doing seller classes in June. And what that means is if you own a home or you inherited a home through probate, or you just want to know what it takes to sell a home in today's market, we're going to be educating people in person once a month. We will offer Zoom later on during the year, but this is going to just help you set yourself up for success. I'll have vendors talk about different things that they can do to get the home ready, whether you pay out of escrow if you don't have any upfront money, or later on. And then obviously the ideas of getting a pre-home inspection. We're just going to cover it all. Ben will talk about the lending side and what to look for in offers and what to expect and how to qualify the buyers, all that good stuff. So we're just really excited to get this out in front of people so that they feel equipped and ready when you're ready to make a decision to get your home on the market.
Love that.
Yep. And look at what your options are. I mean, there's different loan programs that can be utilized and different options. So, and then the last thing I had before I switch it over to Ben is we met with a builder rep yesterday, going over different options that they have for sale for homes up in Puyallup in the uplands. We met with Connor Homes, which was awesome. I will share some more info about that later on. But one of the things that keeps happening with builders, and they're not the only ones that I've heard about this, is they are getting people in, but they aren't qualifying. There's quite a bit of people turned down. Now, this one has a monthly HOA of $150, which takes away almost $50,000 in buying power for them. So that does play a huge part in just educating them. You know, if the purchase price is 800,000 and they're barely at 800,000, of course they're not going to qualify. You know, we're going to run into that with such high HOA. The reason the HOA is so high is because they're building a community. They're going to have a pool, dog parks, all this like centralized living comes at a cost, but you have to be able to look at that and make sure the lender is paying attention to taxes, you know, HOA dues, all of that can take you right out of qualification if you're right at that line. So Ben, you can talk a little bit more about that, but making sure that you are getting fully underwritten. Like, yes, the builder offers so many different things, but it's also built into a lot of their costs. And so you have to make sure, is that really the best deal? And if you're getting turned down from them, having Ben take a second look at where you're at to see if we can get you into something else. That home may not work for you, but you still may qualify for something else.
Yeah.
So
Agreed. To kind of go on with that is rates are super volatile with all of the economy talk and us probably going into a recession and this and just so many different things that can affect the rates in general.
and recession is good
It
for real estate. So
is, yeah.
that's not a bad thing, you guys. That's actually a good thing.
People think that is a bad thing. For real estate, it's really good. That means the rates are going to come down and they have to force action. And we can go into that another time. But the largest thing I wanted to talk about, or the biggest thing I wanted to talk about in with the volatility of the rates, is you could have an approval at, say, let's say mid sixes at 800,000, and if that thing jumps to 7.25, which if you look at the last couple of weeks, the rates have went up significantly and have slowly went up every day. That can price you right out. So you may approve it one day and then not approve the next.
We
So it's
actually
super,
had that happen on our Spanaway listing. Had the lender not locked in that buyer when she did, she would have not qualified for that home anymore. So we were
so there
really
are programs
close.
like Lock and Shop. There are, cash guarantee programs. There are programs that lenders are rolling out, especially Future Force and us. Come get fully pre-approved so you know exactly where you are, and don't just get approved for the best rate in the market that day, because if it jumps 1%, then you may not be able to qualify for the homes you've just been making offers on. So it's a good idea to make sure that you hedge that a little bit and see what your actual strike rate is on that. And that same strike rate thing goes into refinances. If you locked in a rate higher than 7% over the last 2 to 3 years, you are looking to the whole date the rate, marry the house type thing. I know you're tired of dating this rate. So over the volatility and over the next couple of years, these rates will come down. So it's the best practice to figure out right now, today, tomorrow, next week, exactly what you need to get to your payment that you want, how that looks over the next 1 to 2 to 3 years, so that you're prepared and you create a strike rate and basically a program or a plan so that you're ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would, we've talked about, overall debt. We had another lender come in yesterday who's one of our preferred lenders too, and talked about, credit card debt is $3 trillion right now, right? And so, when you're looking at, does it make sense to do a cash out refinance? The rate's different on that, right? Does it make sense to do just a regular refinance? The rate may be different on that. Or does it make sense to sell, pay off some of your debt, and purchase, right? Usually that's the best scenario when you're looking at making your money spread. And if you're busting at the seams of the home or whatever. So you can't just look at where your current interest rates are compared to the other interest rates when your overall debt may be backwards.
Yeah.
So
There's a thing called combined interest rate. I know you may have a 2 or 3% mortgage, but if you have 60, 70, $80,000 in consumer debt, and if your combined interest rate's over 10, 12, 13%, which I've seen so much recently, reducing that, because debt is debt no matter where you have it. So give us a call. We'll definitely walk through this with you, create a really good plan so that you're taken care of.
yeah. And there's nothing to be embarrassed
Nope.
about. I mean, car loans, credit card, like things have increased. COVID did a number on, people's finances and that median income really, really got hit hard on top of like grocery increases, everything just to live. So being able to get a little bit less stress and see if that's an option for you would be huge.
Agreed. Today, I'm going to go over mortgage myths. Really good one. I've been asked this actually. It's kind of, I feel like it's a common question, but I have to remind myself that not everyone understands what some of the basic definitions of like what are closing costs. So the current myth this week is your down payment covers your closing costs. I had a client who said, well, my down payment's going to cover all my closing costs. And unfortunately, that's not true. Closing costs are separate. The actual definition is that closing costs are all the various fees and charges associated with transferring ownership of a property. That includes, so like all the fees from the lender, title, escrow, appraisal, taxes, insurance, recording fees. And sometimes, yes, a realtor, a good realtor team can help this seller pay for those, which are called concessions, and we can go into that another time. But those do have to be paid for by the buyer most of the time when you're making offers.
Yeah. Especially if you're in a multiple offer situation under 550, especially in Puyallup,
Yeah.
they're not paying closing costs span away, so that does play a part. You're looking at 3% of the purchase price, and it hurts my heart when you say those, like, people are asking those types of things, because it just backtracks to me that the real estate agents are not doing a consultation. They're not sitting down with the buyers and going through the home buying process and strategizing and educating them. And a lot of those things can be fixed ahead of time when you're partnering. You're sharing information, I'm sharing information. They're going to be equipped to have the knowledge of knowing exactly what that needs to happen, because we're asking, how much money do you have? Do you, your down payment, are you doing a zero down program? Are you going to get it gifted? Do you have it in your account? Do you need closing costs paid for? Because if you need it, then I'm going to be able to say, hey, you're looking in this area like a buyer. We wrote up 5 offers. I think they're finally going to get one accepted today. But that's, we've had, now they know and don't get as discouraged, like, hey, this may take 5, 6, 7 times, and that sucks. But your home will be out there, because the amount of time it would take them to save for those closing costs, the market's just going to increase even more and get bumped out. So we're going to find that perfect scenario where the seller can give them concessions. They can do the zero down program and walk in with a little bit of money in their savings so that they can, for moving costs, whatever it may be.
And you're not
So,
outsave your appreciation. It
no.
just
No, you just can't. So, just knowing that, and knowing that you're really looking at, as a first time home buyer, you really should be looking at a home as an investment regardless. Um, Instead of your forever home, your dream home. I know in that moment that's what you want to think, because you're like, hell, I'm never doing this again. Really, like, some people ask me, they're like, how do you do this for a
how do you
living? Yeah, they're like, how do you do this for a living? But I do love that excitement. Really, you have to put your investor hat on. Is this something that I could rent out potentially later on? Is this something that's going to gain value that I can move into my next home? Even if you don't think you're going to, you're most likely going to. We're not living in the times of my grandparents that have owned their home since, she said, 1951 or something.
wow.
9,200 is what they bought the house for. She paid it off. She paid it. They bought it, no, 1957, and they paid it off in 1971.
That's $9,200 for a house, and that thing's
Mhm. And what's crazy is they actually borrowed the down payment from their real estate agent. And that real estate agent helped them buy multiple rentals too. So that real estate agent knew what he was doing and helped them. Now, legally, you cannot do
no.
that. But back then, you could do a whole bunch of things. I mean, title officers were taking agents and lenders on trips and cruises and stuff. So there's been a lot more compliance now these days with things. But back then, that, people had to look at different ways of buying homes, and now they're, you know, they've sold their rentals. My dad bought one of them and sold one of them. And, you know, they're sitting on a lot of equity. A house just sold down the street for 1.6 million or something, Grandpa said. Now that one had a shop and a lot of other things, but you know, my grandpa's house sold in the fives. Like they've done, that's a lot of return.
Yeah.
So
So two most important things, I'll just wrap up with this and then I'll let you take it back over, is once you have a pre-approval. So if you've been pre-approved in the last 12 months and you just haven't found the right home, the two most important things after your full pre-approval is to understand your payment and how even $10,000 in purchase power affects it. And like you were saying back at the start of this, if they have HOA of $150, how does that affect your purchase power in your approval? If you're approved for 800 and you have HOA 150, you may only be approved for 750. And the second thing is understanding the closing costs and who will pay them. And if you only have a certain amount, then that needs to be communicated with your realtor if that hasn't been done. If you have not spoken on those two most important things, please reach out to us right away so that we can help guide you through this. We will make buying a home a reality.
yeah, and you guys can't assume that the lender is talking to the agent about that because there's confidentiality. Lenders aren't allowed to share anything, not your credit, not your financial situation, how much money you have in the bank, you know. So if you think that that conversation is happening, it shouldn't, you know. But if you are okay saying, hey, yeah, share whatever we need to do, to strategize, that's fine. But 9 out of 10 times that it's not happening. Ben's not telling me if you need closing costs or not, unless that is a conversation that you approve of. You know, I can bring it to him and say, hey, they, you know, this is what they need. Have you had a look at that? What do you think? Kind of thing. Because he'll know more about your 401ks or all that back end stuff. But yeah, don't assume that the lender and the real estate agent are just looking at your finances and figuring out what the best strategy is, because legally they are not allowed to.
And they're definitely not
So,
loaning money to purchase more homes.
no,
So
exactly. Okay, well, I don't have anything else today for that. Good information. I always appreciate it. If you guys have anything, if you're watching back the replay and you have a question that you want answered or want a specific market update for your area, or you're a vendor and want to get on our vendor list, that's a great thing as well.
yes.
Okay, have a good day.
For the sunshine.
Enjoy the sunshine. Bye.